Hi, this is Katie Sweetman with Empowering Astrology, and this is another webinar. Thank you all for joining me this evening, and this one is on the astrology of 2020. So we are not only in a new year, we're also in a new decade. So what can we expect? What are the major themes that we are experiencing overall, but also how are they affecting each sign? So just and as I record this, it's January 7th, 2020. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. I am here in Brooklyn, New York. I am an astrologer and also a psychic medium. I've been seeing clients for the last about 8 years at this point, but I did start Empowering Astrology on January 9th, 2010. So it's almost a 10-year birthday for Empowering Astrology. I did it because at the time, it didn't feel like there was the voice that I wanted or the conversation that I wanted to have with astrology. And so, you know what they say, like if somebody's not doing it, you got to do it yourself. So that's when I created Empowering Astrology. And I see astrology as this very powerful tool to kind of open up our awareness and help us to live, let's say, more in harmony with these kind of greater forces that are both outside of us, but also within us. This is just a quick rundown of the agenda. This is just for those that are watching on the replay, want to get a little pause, want to kind of see what the structure is. So let's kind of talk some big overall themes for 2020. And you know, I included this image. For me, it's very much about big picture systems, networks, and I really feel that these kind of systems and networks and structures are going to continue to be big themes in 2020. And I think it's also really important to understand that 2020 is not some sort of standalone year. Neither was 2019. They're all part of this continued story. Especially, I would say 2020 is part of a story that started in 2008. And if you've been listening to, some of the things that I've been putting out in my writings, on my website, Empowering Astrology, on Facebook, on Instagram, and in my live videos, I've been trying to paint this story for everybody, just to give a little bit more context for what we're experiencing right now and how it has its roots in 2008. And this is something that I will be going into a little bit more in a few moments. But the thing about what we're going through right now, especially with planets like Pluto and Saturn and Capricorn, is that we also have to look at the shadow side of these structures and systems. So the shadow side of power, the shadow side of control. So a lot of the focus of the astrology this year, it's taking place in the signs of Capricorn and Aquarius. And if you know a little bit about astrology, Capricorn and Aquarius are two of the last signs of the zodiac. They're not the very last. That honor goes to Pisces. But when you are getting to the latter signs of the zodiac, Capricorn represents structure, it's government, it's that's on a, let's say, a bigger macro level. On a personal level, it's our ambitions, it's the responsibilities that we have, it's the place that we have in the world. And then connected to the next sign over, Aquarius, it's a sign that talks about systems and networks and the systems that we're a part of, the networks that we're a part of, our social circles. It also talks about our hopes and dreams and wishes for the future. So, that said, both Aquarius and Capricorn are what are called Saturn-ruled signs. It's really about big picture, manifestation, the structures that are both visible, Capricorn, and invisible, Aquarius, because by the way, Aquarius is what's called an air sign. It talks about communication, it talks about socialization and interaction, and kind of this dissemination of ideas. So that said, part of the story this year is shifting a little bit. We're going to see the eclipses start to go into Gemini, and Sagittarius. And that said, with the South Node going into Sagittarius, we are starting to do some collective work. And this is going to happen, I believe, around May, if I remember correctly. The nodes are the South Node's going to start to go into Sagittarius, that we need to look at our karma, our past, our instincts around belief. And what is our relationship with belief? And some of the beliefs that we have, let's say, held onto very strongly that might not be relevant or even true anymore. And I think that once Saturn goes into Aquarius in March, we're going to start to see this preview of a new time start to open up. One that's going to speak to these bigger social networks that we're a part of, our hopes and our dreams for the future, the bigger picture, thinking more about community and groups, and less about the self and more about the we. And so I think that with some of the really intense astrology that we're experiencing right now, and especially because Capricorn and Aquarius, you're kind of getting into these systems and networks and socialization, we are going to be seeing these themes in 2020 about what connects us and what divides us. Because as we start to move some of the narrative into Aquarius, and maybe if you're Aquarius or some Aquariuses as in your own life, it's a sign that on its highest level is about humanitarianism. It's about equality and equity, and in its lowest expression, it's almost the inhumanity. It's almost the disconnection from each other. So we're going to have to look at these deeper personal and societal themes around science and technology and how we connect to one another. So as I was saying a few moments ago, I really believe that 2020 has its roots, or the story has its roots in 2008. Why is that? So back in 2008, in January of 2008, Pluto went into Capricorn. This is an important fact to put in the back of your head, because Pluto, number one, had not been in Capricorn since 1770s. Yes, you read that correctly. Pluto is a planet that takes a while to make one revolution around the zodiac wheel, one revolution around the sun. And the analogy that I often use, it's like we were watching a hand on the clock start to point towards Capricorn. And, Pluto is non-negotiable transformation. So when it's in a sign, that sign has to completely transform. We have to completely transform Capricorn. We have to completely transform power and control. And you could say that Capricorn is a sign where its soul is being laid bare right now. We're seeing all the different permutations of Capricorn, from the highest and the lowest. But it's a sign that Capricorn in your chart represents some part of your life. Even if you have no planets in Capricorn, Capricorn is a part of your life. And that part of your life has demanded total transformation since 2008. And that part of your life, and as in even Capricorn on a macro level, we're going to continue to transform this part of our life and transform structures and government and power and control until 2023 and 2024. Pluto will spend in total 16 years in Capricorn. So when we get to 2023, 2024, and we look back at the life we had at the beginning of 2008, maybe even in particular that part of our life, it should be completely different. We have done some sort of deep transformation, deep evolution in that part of our life. And you're wondering, what does 2008 have to do with 2020? That was 12 years ago, which is a little bit hard to believe, but time